This starts out by giving us a bit of a montage of Mojo's various attempts to destroy the town. And I hesitate to say he even failed because he destroyed a bunch of buildings and I'm pretty sure even killed some people. If you freeze it here on the shot of the blown up bus for example, ain't no way anyone's surviving that. He was also able to defeat the military's attempts to stop him in his weird floating observatory. What he's unable to defeat, of course, is the Powerpuff Girls. They stop his rampage every time, and he keeps getting put in prison. He must have a great lawyer though, as he's always out of there in no time, and the process repeats itself 3 different times in the episode. You see this start to frustrate Mojo more and more, especially when the girls decide to rub it in his face. When stewing in his cell, Mojo comes up with a bright idea. Why not fight fire with fire? After a quick, funny call to the professor, he figures out that it can't be that hard to create his own evil version of the girls. He chooses the ingredients snips, snails, and a puppy dog's tail. You know, because the girls are made of sugar, spice, and everything nice. It's all a reference to the nursery rhyme, What Are Little Boys Made Of? His substitute for Chemical X is the gross prison toilet water. Seems ambitious, but somehow this works. Like so.
My children!
Hands off! Who do you think you are anyway, Pops?
Why, yes, I am your father! Children!
Hey, we ain't no babies! We're the Rowdyruff boys! Boomer! Rick, Butch, we're here to kick some butt!
To talk about the boys a bit, I do like the concept of them as characters. Evil male counterparts of the main characters who have the same powers they do. They were not fleshed out here, but I kind of like how one note they were. They only care about fighting and doing as much damage to the Powerpuff Girls as possible. That sells them as even more dangerous. It does to me at least. I also like their design. It's simple, but it's the little things, like their colour palette being the same as the girls, just a bit darker, and the nice touch of how Brick is wearing a backwards baseball cap as a replacement for Blossom's bow. When they finally meet the girls, they exchange some fighting words, and most of the rest of the episode is one long fight scene. To really do it justice, I will have to show some of it to you in the background. Images won't be able to get across all of the nice animation. These action scenes are the best in the series so far, hands down. They do a great job with all the fast-paced cuts, and manage to broaden the scope to the whole town, while at the same time showing off the differences between how the girls and the boys go about things. It's all great stuff, it really is. Eventually, the boys defeat the girls in a straight up physical fight. The first time that's really happened in the series so far. How much of that is due to the boys maybe being slightly stronger, and how much of it is due to the girls holding back to protect the townspeople is left up for interpretation. Either way, they hurry off back to Mojo to celebrate, and we get this rather dramatic shot of the townspeople weeping over the girls. Now, they were not actually dead, of course, but they do come back dejected and willing to leave Townsville in defeat. Thankfully, Miss Bellum gives them the advice they needed to hear. That advice being, be nice. You have what little boys fear most, which is of course kisses. It leads to this famous scene of the girls kissing them on the cheek, causing them to explode back into their original components. Who knew cooties could be so deadly? I think this was a good way to end. Some people might moan about the implications of it, but I view it as the girls learning that sometimes pure brute force won't do. You need to be smart with it, otherwise you are no better than the Rowdyruff boys. Just a great, enjoyable episode all round. Actually, I'm not done yet. That is the content of the episode done, so if that's all you care about, click off the video. But I feel I have to share some more about the Rowdyruffs. because even though they were technically killed here, this was far from the last we saw of them. They proved to be very popular characters in the fandom, so eventually in seasons 5 and 6, the final 2 seasons of the show, they were brought back for a number of episodes, with updated designs and a bit more fleshed out personalities. If and when I get to those seasons, I will be glad to see them back, because, as I said, I do find the concept of them interesting and full of potential. Now I want to share a bit of a personal anecdote. I was researching, as I often do about the shows I cover, this time to try and find out why these characters became so popular. That led me down a bit of a rabbit hole. The rabbit hole being the shipping community. It was a large reason why they became so popular. Not the only reason, but a very big one. People seem to love to ship the Rowdyruffs with the Powerpuff Girls. There is a ton of fan art out there with these characters together, and loads of YouTube videos with millions upon millions of views. It's actually mental how much traction this ship got. And you know what? Although it's not my personal cup of tea, I don't really have a problem with it. It's just internet fandoms are gonna do what they're gonna do. And from my point of view, anything that brings more attention to the show and the Powerpuff Girls franchise has to be a positive thing, or at the very least a net positive. But I do understand. I say all this from an outside perspective. I mean, I watched this show a bit as a kid, and I have enjoyed rewatching it for these reviews. I do genuinely like this show, but I don't have any personal connection to it. It's not a Simpsons for me, a show which maybe I do have more of an emotional attachment to. So I can understand why hardcore Powerpuff Girls fans, who have been there from the beginning, and like the show for its comedy and action, might feel a bit salty by the fanbase being partly taken over by this completely external thing. Still, that's not my problem. From an outsider looking in, it's all good to me. Anyway, I hope you guys got something out of this long ramble at the end. I just fancied sharing my thoughts about some behind the scenes of the show. Please let me know your thoughts about this episode, the Rowdyruff boys, or feel free to leave any controversial shipping takes you may have. I'll see you next time for the season 1 finale.